I always will be a YouTuber at heart. I freaking love YouTube. You know, I have this thing here where I'm really passionate about it. I want to be creating more. I want to be dedicating more time to it. Ugh, it comes to bite you in the ass later on. Social media is so unreliable and so unpredictable. Time to get loud. Welcome back to Loud Talk with Lavi, a podcast where we break down the walls of beauty standards one flaw at a time. Thank you so much for joining me in today's episode. Guys, I haven't done a solo episode like in a minute. In like what, 2 months? Maybe, yeah. At least a month and a half, because we've just had guest after guest after guest on the podcast. And I'm like, do I even know how to just do the podcast on my own at this point? Because I'm just so used to having guests on. But today, you guys just get me in honor of me just finishing my engineering degree. Literally today. Today was the day I finished all my assessments for my whole engineering degree. Literally on a random Monday at noon, I just finished my whole engineering degree, which is really crazy to think about because it's just like 4 years plus a whole internship, so 5 years total of work and courses and exams and presentations and all that put in, and now just on a random Monday I'm completely done my degree. And today I don't really want to go into too much depth on like my actual experience going to engineering school and all of that, but more on the reason on why I actually decided to do engineering in the first place, why I'm pursuing post-secondary, because a lot of you guys don't even know this about me. I feel like most of you assume that I do content creation full time, or I don't know, that I'm not in school at all. I don't know what a lot of you guys assume about me. Maybe that we'll do that as a video on your guys' assumptions, but I do know that when I bring up that I'm still a student, you know, lots of people don't assume that I am a student at all. Most brands that I even work with, when they find out that I do school full time, they're like, oh, we had no idea. We thought you just did influencing full time. And most people don't really see the connection between me going to engineering school and also being a content creator. So I do want to give a bit of background on that and just kind of discuss some things around the whole topic today on why I even decided to take this, you know, pursuit as an education in the first place. So, I just, as I mentioned, finished engineering university today. I majored in chemical engineering. And I just had my final capstone presentation today, which was super cool because I actually did it, with my team on biosuccinic acid, which is an ingredient used in skincare. So my two worlds kind of collided there. And I was really excited that they were on board to kind of bring this idea on, especially with my connections in the skincare industry and all. We really worked as a group to create like this full large industrial type process to actually create biosuccinic acid from apple pomace. I had great teammates. They worked so hard on this as well. And a few of them are so technically strong in their knowledge. So we were able to really work together and really put all of our different skills together to make this happen. So we had our final presentation today for our capstone project that we've been working on since August. So it was a really full circle moment for sure to finish that off. We had the fair 2 weeks ago, which we won gold. Woo woo, for that. That was really exciting. But yeah, I've been doing this degree the past 4 years. And in addition to that, I am doing a dual major. So I'm majoring in chemical engineering and business as well. My business major is operations management. And I'm not done that degree yet. That will be done in January. I just happened with how my classes lined up to be done engineering now. I'll be done my business degree in January, and then I'll officially graduate next June. But with this one partial chapter of my post-secondary education closing off, I was like, let me just maybe do some explaining on why I even chose this career path. If anyone has any questions on maybe getting into this, we can kind of have a whole conversation around that. So obviously you guys see me now as like a content creator, and I do this like full-time as my job per se, but it's not like the only thing that occupies my time. Obviously, I've been a full-time student. You know, this semester I was taking 6 courses, so that is what was actually occupying the majority of my time outside of content creating. And then, you know, between the platforms, so I do like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and this podcast, you know, post very, very regularly on all of these. And then I also have the brand, my personal brand at 9 to 5, which I founded last year and has been up and running. And we have our 3-step system currently out now. I have been working on some new stuff soon, hopefully, that I can share. But yeah, so that's been my life. I've been living this like I like to call it like my Hannah Montana lifestyle, because I, have this whole school life and this engineering world, let's say, this like corporate world of mine. And then on the other hand, I do content creation. So some days where I'm at school and then going to an event at night or going on a brand trip, or when I was working my engineering internship where I would go to my 9 to 5 and then come home and work my, self-employment content creation job from 5 to 9. So that's been my life for honestly like this whole time that I've been in university. But what kind of made me want to go into university in the first place? So growing up, I always knew that I wanted to pursue post-secondary. I grew up in a immigrant Eastern European household, and I don't want to say that it was like expected of me to go to university. I always had that inclination on my own, but grades were super important growing up. My parents always told us to keep our grades high, go to a good school, get a good job. Like that was kind of the whole rendition of it. And I feel like that was a standard I held myself very highly to because I felt that my parents gave up so much to move to Canada and bring me here and my brother that it was my responsibility to succeed in school, keep high grades, because I was kind of following those typical standards of, go to school, go to university, get a good job. So, outside of that though, I've always loved school growing up. I was that annoying kid that just loved school. I remember I'd make my mom schedule my appointments, like dentist appointments, ortho appointments, doctor's appointments at like 6 a.m. because I did not want to miss school. That is how much I loved school because when I was in elementary, I actually wanted to become a teacher. So I just loved school. I remember when I left that school, it was K to 4. So when I finished grade 4, my mom had to drag me out of that school because I was sitting there bawling my eyes out. And I was certain that I was going to come back and teach at that school because that is all I wanted to do was be a teacher. I would literally come home from school, set up all my stuffed animals. I think a lot of us did this like collectively. I'd come home from school, set up all my stuffed animals, drag my poor little brother in and sit him down to take attendance, and I would teach my stuffed animals and my brother what I learned at school that day. I literally just wanted to be a teacher so badly. But that dream like quickly washed away after I kind of got into junior high. Then I thought about maybe, becoming a lawyer for a bit, which looking back now, I could have never gone into that career path. I also thought about maybe interior design because I was obsessed with decorating my room, all things like decoration and room decor. I was really on that side of YouTube, like the whole DIY era. So I was constantly, rearranging my room. I think we've all had the common experience where your parents can just hear you dragging your bed across the floor and they like sneak in here and they're like, what are you doing? And it's like 2 a.m. and you're like, nothing. And the bed's like in the middle of the room. That happened to me so many times, more than I can count, because I was always wanting to switch it up, repaint my walls, make a new craft to put on the wall, whatever it was. I got really into that DIY era. And that's actually what started my YouTube journey because my brother saw that I was obsessed with these beauty gurus, Bethany Moda, Alicia Marie, like all of these DIY queens, Laura DIY, of course, like My Life as Ava, all of them. I'm sure like we all were. And I was always, making these DIYs. I got more into like makeup and skincare and I was filming some of these things on YouTube. And my little brother, who's 2 years younger than me, was like, Lavinia, you should just, hello? I was just talking about you. Do you want to make an appearance? The not so little brother I was talking about, and the actually little brother. Anyways, so he actually was like, "Oh, you should also make YouTube videos." And I was like, I don't know about that." At the time, he was like making gaming videos and he just made me my channel. And I was like, "Okay, I guess I start posting." I think my first video, which is still up if you guys want to go see it. I didn't take any of them down. They're a little cringy, but like it was still my life. It was my childhood, so I like cherish those moments. And it was like a fall lookbook video, so I showed like 5 outfits for fall or something like that. It was literally like filmed so badly. The editing was very, very questionable, but it was cute looking back at it. A little cringe, but cute. So that's what kind of started my YouTube journey, but I was always just like so passionate about creating. My whole life, I always wanted to pick up a camera. I distinctly remember this one video of me when I was like 3 years old. My mom's recording me on this like big ass video camera, and all I wanted to do was hold it. I'm like, let me record you. Like I was so into that. I was always wanting to be like the star of the show. Anything like performance related, dance, music, all of that, I absolutely loved as a kid. and especially videos. Like me and my brother made so many like music videos and all of this growing up, so it was definitely like normal for me to just pop on camera and want to do YouTube. I was just very into like the creative of it all. But from there, like obviously I always had the dream of like maybe I'll be a content creator, because like we all saw YouTubers blowing up and all of that, but it just wasn't a full reality for me because I never had like this exponential growth. It was also always super steady. And for my beginning career on YouTube when I was like 13, 14, 15, I had like very, very low views and just a few subscribers there, but I was so consistent with it because I just loved it so much. So from there, I was thinking about interior design because I loved the creative of it all. I was always rearranging my room, all of that. Then going into high school, I was thinking a little bit about architecture because I thought, okay, maybe like, I'm good at math, maybe I'll enjoy architecture. But I took like one design course. Spark is like yawning here like crazy. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, which you should, if you're not, because I do post the YouTube version as well, but he's like yawning like crazy. He's so tired. I get you, buddy. I get you. But wow, so many distractions in this podcast. So once I got into grade 10, I took a design course. I'm like, oh, I just don't know if these like nitty-gritty details are for me. I'm like the visionary for it rather than like sitting down and actually doing the design. So I was really lost on what I wanted to do. I had no idea. I knew I was really good at math. I liked the sciences, physics, chemistry, all of that. But in terms of like what I actually want to do with it, I had no idea because I knew I did not want to pursue medicine. And that's kind of what I associate with like the sciences, because I just don't think like a lot of the career options are really taught to you as like a kid or as a student. You kind of think of your like typical boxes, lawyer, engineer, doctor, nurse, and there's not much that you think of outside of that. So a few people had brought up engineering to me, but I was like, engineering, like I don't want to be building bridges. I don't think that's my thing. So that was a total write-off for me. But then I knew I did not want to go into medicine. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to go into business. That's kind of my only option left. I think like I would like it. But again, I had that high inclination towards physics and chemistry, which wouldn't really be utilized for my business degree. So I was very conflicted. I really did not know what I wanted to do. And then things just started aligning. And I just always feel that certain messages we get in life, certain people that come into our lives are really for certain reasons. And it was in my grade 11 physics class, where grade 11 is when you start applying for early admission and all. So that's kind of when you start thinking of what you want to do in post-secondary. And my high school physics teacher had come to me and asked if I was ever, considering engineering. And at this point, I already had a few people in my, life mention engineering to me, mainly some family friends telling me about chemical engineering. And I was like, maybe this could actually be like an option because I didn't really know about the different majors that there were for engineering, the different fields. And I hadn't really heard of chemical engineering outside of oil and gas. Where I live, it's a very oil and gas heavy city. A lot of the jobs here around chemical engineering are oil and gas based. But that's kind of when I found out about cosmetic engineering, which typically you get a chemical engineering degree for. So I'm like, that is super cool. Let me look into that. And then when I was in my grade 11 physics class, my physics teacher, my favorite teacher of all time, I truly think that this guy changed my trajectory in terms of my career choice. Maybe I would have ended up in engineering anyways, but this was just like such a pinpoint moment for me in my decision making. So he asked me if I wanted to attend a job shadow at an engineering company, and I went with them, and that was super cool because I got to learn about what they actually did day to day. And I was like, actually, this is probably what I want to do. This seems super interesting to me. And the more and more I learned about chemical engineering, I was like, this is actually such a diverse industry. You can go into oil and gas, you can go into petroleum, obviously, like that's a big thing here where I live, but you can go into cosmetics, you can go into pharmaceuticals, you can go into the food industry, you can go into medicine. There are so many industries that you can go to. And even if you don't want to be like, let's say, a technical engineer afterwards, you can go into project management in any of those fields. You can go into sales. It is literally crazy what the amounts you can do with that undergrad. So I was like, this is actually a really great option for me because I might be able to combine my love for physics and math and chemistry and all of that, and the school and educational side of it, with my love for cosmetics, that was kind of my plan, is I want to become a cosmetic engineer. And then so I applied for engineering school, and I applied for early admission, so I heard back and I got in. And then when I went to the open house, they talked about this new program that they were offering called the dual degree, where you could get 2 degrees in 5 years. And with engineering, it was combined with a business degree, Bachelor of Commerce. So I was like, done deal. Now it's like the best of both worlds. So I denied my engineering application, reapplied for the dual degree, and luckily got in, because I really just put like all my eggs in one basket there. But I felt really good about my decision because I had, that decision made that I want to go into engineering. And then I was able to also now combine it with business, which is kind of what I was originally leaning towards before I knew, more about engineering. So this is a perfect outcome. I'm able to get both these degrees in 5 years. I know it will be quite a bit of a heavy workload, but I'll get it done. I think it'll be worth it. So I go into engineering school, and the first year for me was a common year. It's just like we're all taking the same courses, and you're just in like general engineering for the first year to really decide what you want to do. So you take basically one course-ish of like every major, like different aspects of it, so that you kind of know what you want to do. And then at the end of the year, you apply for placement. So you basically rank your top choices, and then based on your GPA, you get placed. And I got placed into chemical engineering, which was my plan from the start. I knew so many people though that switched from what they thought they wanted to do into others. So it's really good that we had that first general year. And my plan was always, go through this degree and get an internship, hopefully somewhere in the cosmetic field, and then work as a cosmetic engineer after I graduate or something of that nature. Now, obviously, COVID happened, and that was when I was in my second year of school. And actually, when I was in my first year, the last like month of the second semester, I spent online. So that's when we got, everything shut down. I was online, and then my full second year of university was fully remote, which was really a crazy experience. I definitely struggled at that time because I'm such a social person. I'm such an extrovert that being at home all the time. First of all, I can't sit in the house all day. Like I sit in the house all day for one day and I feel like I'm going crazy. Like I need to go out, I need to do stuff, I need to have like a booked and busy schedule, and like switch locations. That was a big thing for me. So being in my room all day, going from my bed to my desk and sitting at my desk for 12 hours plus a day was not good for my mental health at all. This was also the time when I got on hormonal birth control, which I've talked about in my birth control story in a separate episode. So I was just going through it, all the emotions, but I really was picking up the pace with content creation at this time, posting a lot more on YouTube, posting way more regularly. And for the most part, I was posting in high school 3 times a week, which I'm so proud that I did that because I was keeping so consistent, even though I literally had 2,000 subscribers. So that is your proof right there that if you love something, keep consistent with it because you don't know where it's going to transform into. I was posting 3 times a week for probably like 3 to 4 years straight, every single, week, 3 times a week. And I had like 2,000 subscribers. And even my parents, we would go on family vacations and they'd be like, Lavinia, take a break from this. No one is like going to notice if you don't post for 2 weeks while we're on vacation. And I'm like, no, I have to pre-film all this. These all have to go up 8 a.m. on their designated posting day. Like my 2,000 viewers will be waiting for these. So like, just you wait. And I'm so happy that I took it that seriously, even though it was a hobby, because now I'm at a place where this is my full-time job. And I think that really taught me a lot about like dedication and the hard work of it all because I put in so many years before it actually became like my full-time job. But anyways, so during high school I was posting very consistently like that. During first year, I think I died down a little bit more to like 1 time a week just because school was obviously very heavy, especially in my first year. It was kind of a learning curve to balance university courses with posting. And then from there, during COVID, I kind of found that passion again to be posting more on YouTube because there was like nothing to do. You can go anywhere. So I was like, let me just do my thing and make YouTube videos. And YouTube was really like my safe space. I could just sit there and do my makeup and feel so happy. So that's what I was doing a lot. And then that's when I got on TikTok. I was definitely kind of late to the TikTok game in terms of getting on there as like an actual creator. But I finally did it. I started making like skincare and makeup content on there. And kind of the rest is history since then, since that's what kind of took my content creating career to the next level. And I'm super grateful for all that. But it was definitely tough, I think, when things started getting really busy with content creation. I was getting brand deals and more work and actually starting to make money off of content creating. It was really hard to stay motivated in school because, I have this thing here where I'm really passionate about it. I want to be creating more, I want to be dedicating more time to it. And it's also paying me. And then on the other hand, I have school, which is hard, and there's exams and deadlines. And after 2, 3 years, you start to get a little run down in it. So it was definitely hard, having to force yourself to step away from the craft you love and the thing that's bringing you money to sit down and study and do all that. But I knew that my goal was to finish school. I knew that that was something I really wanted to do. And lots of people did ask me, like, well, when your career started taking off on social media, did you think about dropping out? Did you think about, just quitting and doing this full time since you already have an established career? And I would always say absolutely not, because social media is so unpredictable. You never know when things could die down. You never know when a whole platform could be gone. Like, hello, we're literally here talking about TikTok potentially going. So, in my head, that was not an option. Social media is so unreliable and so unpredictable. There was never a universe where I would have dropped out of school just because I was doing good on social media, because you never know where that's going to be in 2 months from now, 2 years from now, let alone like 10, 20 years. So I knew that getting an education, having my degrees was so important to me, because even if after I graduate, I don't want to pursue, like, let's say, a career in industry, I can always go back to it if all else fails with socials. So it was so important for me to have that. And not only that, but also I really do value education. I don't think it's necessarily necessary for everyone, but I do think it's important if that's what you're wanting to pursue. And I think for me, I saw the value in that, and I knew that people would see my qualifications differently if I did have this degree, because at the end of the day, like, now I just launched my skincare brand. When people ask me, like, well, what the hell do you know about formulating? It's like, at least I have this chemical engineering background. I have some business background where I can use that kind of as my initial leverage for people to kind of gain that trust in me. So I think it's super important. So yeah, quitting school was never an option for me, but I do want to say it was tough. And an interesting thing is, I am someone who so believes that everything happens for a reason. And one thing that always really frustrated me when I started on social media when I was 14, 15, 16, doing YouTube, is I was like, I am putting in so much work into these videos. I'm posting 3 times a week consistently. I am thinking about every idea so much. I am editing all these videos, making sure that they go up on time, and nobody is watching them. I was stuck at like a few thousand subscribers for so long, and I was like, I am never going to grow. And that was really tough. There were so many times where I'm like, why am I putting in so much effort if I'm just not getting anywhere with it? I was thinking, what is the point of this? I am putting all this work in, I'm putting all my time in, and I'm not seeing the results that maybe other people are seeing. Or I would get so wrapped into it in terms of, well, this person just went viral after posting a few videos, and I've been just doing this year after year, video after video for so much time, that it felt as if I wasn't getting anything in return. So that was tough to deal with. But looking back at it now, I think if I would have gotten the work that I am doing now at that age, maybe it would have been harder for me to want to pursue post-secondary if I was this booked and busy in the social media world as I am now, because it probably would have been harder for me to be incentivized to apply for school and go to school and have that motive driving me, especially in those first few years. I think the first few years of university are the hardest, and where you really have to keep that drive going. So I'm actually, looking back now, very grateful for the fact that I didn't blow up and become successful. Again, if you're watching YouTube, I'm putting air quotations around these words because I think it's so relative and everyone has their own definitions of success. But getting to a place where I am able to make an income off of this and have it as my job, I think it would have been a lot harder if it was a few years back where I was just starting off at school, or let alone even before applying to university. So very grateful for that. Obviously, I knew that school was always a very high standard for myself, and that was something I really wanted to achieve. But who knows how things would have played out if I did it differently back then. Long story short, I got on TikTok in second year and started posting more on there, and I really, really started loving that. It was Great to just have a new platform to create with. I really started loving the short form as well, but kept consistent on YouTube during the time as well because I always will be a YouTuber at heart. I freaking love YouTube with my whole heart and soul. I think it's one of the best. So for me, leaving YouTube wasn't even an option, even if like the people aren't on YouTube anymore. I know YouTube has kind of lost its popularity, but I'm still up there posting every week because I just love that platform. I think it's so just relaxing and such a fun time. I always continue making YouTube and watching YouTube videos as well. I'm obsessed with them. But anyways, I keep going on a million tangents in this episode. I feel like I just haven't done a solo episode in so long that I'm like, yapper, yapper, yapper. But it's okay. Anyways, where was I? So yeah, I started posting on TikTok, really love that. And TikTok, man, TikTok was such a big distractor, I think, from school. And I really had to learn how to manage that because with TikTok, you have to be out here posting 3, 5 times a day. And it's so easy to get distracted, especially with how my mind works, because I'll be studying and then I'll say to myself, oh, this would be such a good video for a TikTok. And with TikTok, it's so easy to just pull out your phone and make it right then and there, especially because my beauty studio, I mean, before, like, you can see it behind me here, but before it was in my bedroom. So I would be sitting at my desk. Imagine during COVID, you're sitting at home doing nothing, sitting at my desk, bored, did not want to be studying. Then I just get up and want to do a TikTok. So it was definitely a very internal battle for me to like stay focused. But I knew school is very important to me, achieving good grades in my classes and actually learning the content was important. So I had to maintain that for sure. And yeah, since then, everything has kind of grown more and more. And this has become a full-time job for me, I would say, in the past like 2-ish years, which I am so incredibly grateful for. And now kind of stems the question of what now? And why I'm still kind of finishing this off, which I already answered. This is a huge goal of mine. And I think that it's important to have as not even just a backup plan, but just I wanted for myself to accomplish these degrees. I still got one more to do, which I'll be done in January there, which I am still working towards and will keep the same momentum. Now, in terms of my thoughts on education, they've really, really shifted over these past few years. It's funny because I spent so much of my life, most of my life in education, valuing my self-worth on my grades. And if anyone out there is a firstborn girl, older sister in your family, especially from like a immigrant Eastern European family, you probably feel this too, but academic validation, it comes to bite you in the ass later on because I based so much of my self-worth on my grades my whole childhood from K to 12. If I wasn't acing a test, I felt like a failure and I had to work myself to make sure that I was acing every single test and maintaining really high grades. And I do think school came more easily to me, especially in like math and sciences. I also put in a lot of work. I'm not just gonna say like, oh, I didn't put in the work, but it definitely I had the inkling to it. I don't think everyone has that, and I think that's okay. I think that everyone has their strengths in different things. And I think these past few years have really allowed me to learn that more because I just held education and like academia so high in my mind where grades were so important to me and they were like the whole world. And that's really changed. After going to university, I remember my first exam, first year, I got like an 80. Okay. An 80, guys. And I came home bawling my eyes out to my mom. And she was looking at me like I was crazy because she goes, Lavinia, you got an 80, you still did good. You can't be killing yourself over these grades. And I got it, but I didn't get it. I didn't really get it until honestly, I want to say third year because second year, it really started to affect my mental health because we were doing school online and it was definitely very difficult to learn this time. And I think I got my first like B plus in second year and I felt like a failure. It was crazy. I started to question my whole identity at this point because I'm like, who am I if I'm not even getting these high grades? Like that has been my identity my whole life that if I'm not getting these high grades, who am I? I'm literally not Lavinia. I'm not Lavinia if I'm not doing this. And that was such a wake up moment to me because I had to realize everything that I had worked on up until then. My whole YouTube career. Yes, it wasn't huge, but I still was showing up every week, posting videos. That was still something to show accomplishment. At this point, I was so worried that I wasn't going to get an internship because I let one grade slip. Again, air quotations. And I just felt like this whole identity crisis. I felt like things online weren't going great. I wasn't like this huge creator. And then on the other hand, my grades were apparently slipping, even though I just received a little bit of a lower grade in the class. It was crazy. But if anyone is in those shoes of where you depended so much on academic validation your whole life, having that switch, which seems dramatic now looking back, actually impacted me so much. And I know I've talked to other people about this too. And now looking back, I'm like, girl, why were you like crying over these marks? You were doing just fine. After I got my internship placement, I did a internship between third and fourth year at a pipeline oil and gas transport company. So I was a project engineer there. And that really made me realize how much grades don't matter in a sense. Obviously, they matter. They always, matter if you're in an academic setting. But at that moment, I realized so much more actually stemmed from my experience because my interview for this job, I was ready. I was ready with my technical knowledge, maybe what will they ask me? And the first thing they asked me is, so how did you get into YouTube? And my mouth literally dropped in the interview because I even debated putting YouTube on my resume because I didn't want to, because I thought it would be looked at as, not that serious, kind of childish or immature. And that was the only thing they wanted to talk to me about. They were so curious about how I started on YouTube, how I was maintaining it, because they did really see it as a business I was doing and something I was maintaining and showing consistency in. So that really showed me, it's not always just about your academics. It's, what everything you do encompass. And that's really what makes you who you are, not just a grade on an exam. But it took me a while to learn this. Now, at this point where I am now, I think school is important, but to an extent where it's actually being used towards like your actual goals. A lot of people will ask me, do I need post-secondary or do I need to go to university? And I think my answer has really changed now. Now I would say no. A few years ago, if you would have asked me, I probably would have said yes. And that is because I don't think you need to go to school to be quote unquote successful in your life. But I do think you need to have the dedication and the patience and the willingness to put in the work to get somewhere. So people ask me, I want to become a content creator. I've been posting for the last month consistently, but I'm not seeing anything. And my response will always be, go do it for 4 or 5 years, post consistently like you have an audience, and then come back and chat about a potential sponsor, how to make money, or all of that, because it's literally not going to work if you're just going into it expecting these instant results. It might. There is always the overnight success story, but even with those, I'm always skeptical because it's like, is it really an overnight thing, or did they just blow up one day and really they've been doing this forever? Because a lot of people with me even assume that I've just been on TikTok the last couple of years, but really I tell them, hey, I've been on YouTube since 2014 making videos. So it really was a lot of build up to that like instant pop up, let's say like an audience and all of that. So with school, I see it the same way. You are going to school, university for 4 or 5 years. You're investing $40,000 to $50,000 depending on the school you go to, and you're doing all that because you are investing in yourself and you're hoping that it's going to build up your resume and your education to hopefully get a job after. But guess what? No one guarantees you the job after. You're just increasing your chances to get a job in a certain domain that you are getting that education in. So I see it the same way with entrepreneurship, whether it's content creating or even a business. I just started my brand 9 to 5. We just launched, and although it would have been great to have 100,000 sales first day, obviously we didn't have that. We had nowhere near that. And that's just the reality of starting up a small business. I know it's going to take time and years and lots of consistent hard work to grow that thing. And I'm ready for the challenge, but it's not going to be easy. And I think a lot of people don't realize that viewpoint of like, oh, I don't think school's necessary, but I do think the time and the energy and the money that you put in is going to be kind of equivalent if you're wanting to do your own thing. That's my opinion on that. My plan now, I, obviously got my just finished up engineering. I'll be done officially university next year and graduate and all of that. And I think from here, I am just going to be working full-time as a content creator. I want to give this my best shot, especially investing more time into it, because up until now, although I'm considered full-time as a content creator, I have so much of my time and energy going towards school at the moment. So I'm curious what I can do with it when I am putting my full attention into it, where I can take this podcast, where I can just take my other content as well, and kind of working on the other projects that I have in my brain that I want to start executing on. And then of course, just putting more time and energy into 9 to 5 and growing that brand as well. I'm really excited just to see where that can go. And then in terms of my post-secondary, I don't think it's necessarily going to waste, even if some people see it that way, because at the end of the day, I'm using that knowledge, towards my brand, towards formulating. I'm using some of the skills I learned in business schools towards all of this self-employment and my business and all of that. And from there, who knows? I might want to return back to industry one day. I might, go back to a 9 to 5 job. Who knows what I'll need it for, but I think that a big goal of mine was to finish this education, and I don't think there's an issue with that, even though I'm doing something else right now. If anything, I'm excited that I'm kind of pursuing this path for now, and who knows what I'll do later, because if you know me in real life, you know that I cannot sit still for 2 seconds, and I'm constantly needing to work on something new. So honestly, even if I am doing content creation like fully full time after I'm done school, I know I'll always be working on something else, whether it's the brand or maybe going back to industry for a bit or whatever it is. I have to be doing like multiple things. I can't just like sit in one spot. I always have like a million projects on my brain that I want to be doing. So that's my plan there. And that's kind of the evolution and the story of how I got into content creating and all of that. I do think school is important. Is it for everyone? No, but if there's a dream that you have out there, I think the biggest thing that I can really say, just based on my experience too, is just like really put in the time and invest into yourself. That doesn't have to be necessarily you spending a ton of money into like a startup, but put in the time, put in the work, or whatever you can be doing. And yeah, if any of you out there are at all thinking about chemical engineering, I think it's a really cool degree. I think you can do a lot with it. It's definitely multi-industrial. You can, kind of go into, I would say, really any industry with it. There's so much need for it. You don't necessarily have to be like doing technical engineering with it, but I think you do learn a lot. And I think with any engineering degree, the main thing that it's teaching you is how to problem solve. I think anyone who went through an engineering degree can attest that. It also teaches you amazing time management and productivity, because you just usually have so much on your plate, so many classes, so many assignments, so much on the go, that you have to learn how to problem solve, or that degree will eat you alive. And then, yeah, time management, because we have a million labs and tutorials and classes going on. A lot of us, have different stuff outside of school, extracurriculars, work, whatever it is. So it really teaches you how to time manage and problem solve, because every class we take is a lot in problem solving. I won't say that necessarily the job I'm working now has to do with the specific content that I learned in school, but the problem solving aspect, absolutely, because you look at a problem, you know how to identify the knowns and the unknowns and what you're actually trying to achieve out of it, and you are able to kind of create this efficient path to how you're going to get to your solution. So yeah, I think it's an amazing degree. I think for an undergrad, you can do so much with it, and you can get a job right away out of school, which is such a cool aspect of it, because with a lot of degrees, a regular science degree or an art degree, for the most part, you do have to go get a master's or go to med school or go to law school to kind of pursue in that path. Whereas with a undergrad engineering degree, you can go straight to industry, start working, and do a lot with it. And then, of course, if you want to do more school afterwards, you totally can. I think for myself, this will be it for school. After these 2 degrees, I think I'm tapped out in the school department, which is crazy to say, because I've loved school my whole life. But at this point, I'm just ready for the next chapter. I'm ready for what's next to come. But I did want to hop on here and just share a bit about my experience, why I'm actually pursuing this, and what kind of led me to pursuing a chemical engineering degree with a business degree as well, and just why I'm still doing this as a content creator. So yeah, that is it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this solo podcast today. Thank you so much for tuning in and getting loud with me. If you guys have any questions about any of this, let me know down below in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, you can DM me on Instagram too at Loud Talk with Lavi if you want to chat more about this, or any other suggestions for future podcast ideas that you guys have. I'm always open to your suggestions and feedback. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching on YouTube. If you are, hi. And if you're tuning in on one of our audio platforms, Spotify, Apple, or any other streaming platform, thank you so much for getting loud with me today. Yeah, we post every single Sunday at 7 a.m. MST. I would so appreciate a 5-star review or a big thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. But thank you for joining me in today's episode, and you'll hear from me next Sunday at 7 a.m. MST. Bye, guys.